All right, well, I got 3 o'clock by my watch. So, welcome to week 3. Everybody doing all right?
Yeah.
Things starting to pick up a little bit? A little bit? Yeah? A little bit? It'll pick up and it'll pick up and then it'll do its thing. So refresh my memory. What did we talk about last time?
The study cycle?
Pardon?
The study cycle?
We talked about the study cycle. We talked about, what was the title of the talk?
The difference between learning and studying.
Yeah, so we started talking about a title, right? Was Stop Studying and Start Learning, right? Get you in that learning mode.
We talked about metacognition.
We talked about metacognition and its importance. Anything else that we kind of touched upon? Anybody use any of those techniques yet? Okay, a few of you. Yeah. You will as more and more assignments come, I promise. So we kind of finished off with this and we went through it really quick. So I just want to go through it again real quick and then we'll get into the last piece of last time and then get started on the stuff we need to talk about today. So yes, we did talk about the study cycle. Why is this important? Why is it called a cycle? Pardon? It is continuous, that's right. A cycle, right, just like a circle. You know, if you start at one point, you end up back at that point without lifting your pencil on the paper, that's a cycle. It's the same kind of thing. You all are going to be involved in this study cycle, whether you know it or not, right? But this is the thing that we think will work the best for you all as you sit down and study. Many of you think of studying as simply reading or working a few problems, but there's a whole cycle to it. And the whole point of last meeting, right, was to get you thinking about how we think about things and learning about how we learn about things so that you can improve upon your on your own learning skills and things like that so that you can do better. We started off by talking about previewing. Why is previewing so important? Why is it the first thing you need to do? Okay, true. What else? Yeah.
So you can engage with the content before actually getting to know it.
That's right. You need to come to every one of your classes with some idea of what the instructor is going to talk about that day. That's what previewing, it primes your mind to receive that information. If you walk in cold, I promise you, this semester you might be able to get away with it. Because your first semester as a college student isn't that much different than your last semester as a high school student. But after that, it changes dramatically, okay? And so you might be able to get away without previewing right now, but I promise you in the future, if you don't walk into your upper level chemistry classes, your upper level whatever classes, and you're not ready to receive that material, no matter how much the instructor does up here, you won't be able to make use of that. Attendance, very important. The big difference between you being here and being in high school, somebody made sure you went to class. Here, not so much, right? But it's still very important. Review. What did I mean by review?
After you get done with the material, like let's say I left this class, I would look back at what we just went over. And you said to do that within like a day or two.
Yeah, the quicker the better, right? But I know that I don't expect you all to leave this class and immediately review the material. I mean, you may have another class to get to, you may have another obligation, but you don't want to let it get cold. You want to review that material, right? Then you're going to study that material deeper, right? And you're going to assess your learning from that studying, right? And where you find that you have problems, you're going to go back and you're going to study again. And this is part of that cycle, right? And we talked a little bit about, you know, you got a preview before class. Remember, I told you attending a class is about 50 cents a minute. That's a lot of cash. It adds up real quick, right? Review after class, put yourself in learning mode, right? And then you got to work problems. The major that you are in is a problems-oriented major. You will have lots of chemistry problems and biochemistry problems and biology problems and physics problems and math problems, and they will all come together. Today we're going to talk about the curriculum. So a lot of this is going to start to come together for you. But one thing that I find useful is the Feynman technique. How many people in here know who Richard Feynman is? Okay, a couple of you. He's a Nobel Prize winner. He has long since been passed. But he was also famous for his work on the Challenger Space Shuttle disaster committee. And did a lot there. He is considered one of the best teachers that most people have never had. He was a very engaging teacher, and he was a Nobel Prize winner. So the Feynman technique, this is how Richard Feynman says he learns things. A Nobel Prize winner does this with an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. This is how, and he says in many of his lectures that he was not a genius. He just happened to be really good at learning. Okay? He never considered himself a genius. But in the nutshell, it's you really only understand a topic if you can explain it to your grandmother, grandfather, or a young child. Somebody that doesn't really know much about what you're studying. If you can explain it to them in simple terms, chances are you really understand the material. If you find yourself saying to somebody, well, it's complicated, that usually means you don't have a good grasp of the material, right? It's when you can explain it simply to people who are far removed from what you're studying that you really and truly have an understanding of that. So he had several steps in his technique that he says. And step one is get a notebook and write the title of the concept you wish to learn something about. Write it at the top. And then on that page, write down everything you know about that concept on that page. Whatever you know in your head, just write it down. This is what I know about this topic, right? That's step one. Step two, explain the concept in simple terms, just like I said. Can you explain it to someone on the street? Work some examples. If the answer to that is no, right? You're gonna, if you can't really do that, right, after reviewing your explanation, you're gonna identify the areas where you struggle to explain in simple terms. This is what self-reflection is. Okay? This is what the self-reflection, this is why I'm having you do notebook reflections. Then you're going to go back to the books, the notes. You're going to go back to the materials the instructors provided for you. And you are going to learn more things. And you are going to add those things back to that notebook page. Okay? You need to be able to use analogies. It's very important. What do I mean by using analogies?
Something that relates to everyday life.
Okay, very good. Connecting something that seems unrelated to something that you can easily grasp.
Describing something through a concept that seems unrelated.
Okay, very good. How many of you have ever held in your hand a single atom and been able to look at it? Now wait a second, you're all chemistry and biochemistry, and none of you have ever held. Why is that? It's too small, right? We can't physically do that. Everything that we know about atoms and molecules is all based on models. We're not 100% sure that that's exactly how the world works. It just works in all the cases that we've tried today, right? That's kind of cool to think about. But we use analogies. You will be in classes where you will use an analogy to explain a chemical concept. Something that you understand and take for granted as you understand it in the real world, you will take that and you will apply it in chemistry. And when you make those types of connections, you will be able to make much better use of your time learning, I promise you, okay? And there he was during the Challenger disaster doing a simple little experiment in front of the entire world to show why the Challenger exploded. He used a cup of ice water and a piece of the seal that was in the booster. And he did a little simple experiment in front of everybody to explain why that was. He took something very simple that people understood and explained a disaster that most people would say, well, that was a very complicated event. And he went, no, it's not. It was cold that day. The seal shrunk. Hot gases escaped and the rocket blew up. It was very simple. He always tried to extrapolate things that people thought were complicated into simple steps. And this technique does work. There's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube about the Feynman technique. I recommend you watch a few things. Okay? So here's an example of me using the Feynman technique. This is a topic that you all will learn about in organic chemistry. Don't worry too much about it at this point. But about carbocation rearrangement, I went down and I wrote everything that I understood, and I tried to explain how things moved around, wrote it all down on the paper, and then explained it in very simple terms. And so I could explain that to you if I had the time to wish to do that to you right now, where you would leave this classroom and go, I kind of understand that. You may not be able to completely utilize it, but you would understand what I was talking about. Okay, so that's what you need to do for the Feynman technique. All right. So for today, we are going to get started talking about our curriculum. How many people know where the bulletin is? Nope. If you go usm.edu, you go to the registrar's webpage, so /registrar, you will get to the Office of the Registrar page. Okay? You will scroll down, and over to your left will be this little tab called Bulletin. Okay? You'll click on that. This takes you to our online academic bulletin. You all will go to the undergraduate bulletin. You're not in graduate school yet. And you will then go down to, and I've given you links in Canvas, okay? So you'll be able to do that. You will go to Arts and Sciences. That's where our program is. And then you will go down to, what school are we in? Math and Natural Sciences, right? So you will go to that information and you will see every degree plan that we offer as a school. Now the first ones, because C comes before everything else, makes it convenient for you, right? So some of your chemistry parentheses ACS certified, how many are that? Okay. And then some of your parentheses biochemistry, how many there? All right, very good. So you'll pick, do we have any chemistry education ones? Okay, so we will just focus on the first two. And we will just focus on the first one for today. You will click on that, and that will take you to a whole set of information about our program. And you'll notice that we have degree requirements and we have a semester guide. What assignment is coming due soon? Next week, in fact. The personalized semester by semester guide. Okay? Do not just immediately go to the semester guide. Go first to the degree requirements and look at that. Has anybody done this yet? Okay, a couple of you. When you click on this, you're going to get you're going to get what we call the degree plan. So when your advisor says it's in the degree plan, this is what they're talking about. For all practical purposes, the degree plan is the ultimate authority in what it's going to take for you to ultimately graduate. If it's listed in the bulletin, it is a requirement. What do I mean by a requirement? You got to do it, right? That's a pretty simple one, right? If you don't have it at the end of your 4 years, you don't graduate. It is up to you and only you to make sure that every bit of your requirements are satisfied. The advisor is here to assist you. I am here to assist you. The degree progress specialists are here to assist you, but the responsibility rests with you. All right. The degree plans are broken down into two main sections, GEC and DEG. Does anybody know what GEC stands for? General Education Curriculum. Okay? Some of you may have learned it as what other word? What other word might have you heard for GEC?
Prerequisites.
Prerequisites, good one. What else? Gen Ed, very good. What else have you might have heard it as? When I was in college, it was the basics. You got to take the basics, right? That's GEC. That's what we're talking about. You got GEC 01, written communication. This is going to be your English Comp 1, your English Comp 2. Why in the world do we require every student on this campus to take 6 hours or have 6 hours of credit for English Comp 1 and English Comp 2?
You need to know how to write essays.
Write essays?
You have to be able to understand what you're reading. If you're reading a lab report and you can't get anything out of it, like an article, then there's no point to reading it.
Okay. What else?
Every career has some aspect of writing in it.
I don't care what you go on to do. You're going to write something. at some point. Even with AI, you're gonna write something. You're gonna be responsible for the writing of something, right? So composition 1, composition 2 is required. Not because we want you to go over and take 2 English classes, but because those skills are transferable to no matter what you do. You may change your major tomorrow, you may change your major next year, you may change your whole degree path, or your whole career path. Writing is very, very important, okay? You will need this in your laboratories as you write in your lab notebooks and you write your lab reports. You will need this in your English classes. You will need this in your math class. You will need this in your physics classes, your biology classes. You all will write. You need that really in my class. I'm asking you to write every week something, right? I'm just not grading it on grammar and all that kind of stuff yet because you haven't had this yet, okay? Many of you may feel that this is what you learned in high school. English Comp 1 probably is. English Comp 2, I can guarantee you it's not, okay? Natural sciences. We require people to have 8 to 10 hours. You can pick 2 from there. What are you going to pick as part of your degree plan? Chemistry 106 is on the list. That's going to count for a GEC and a DEG. We'll talk about that. What other classes might you be taking to satisfy this requirement?
Fundamentals of general organic and biochemistry.
You're not going to take this class. That particular class is what we call a service class. It's for non-majors. If you're in biochemistry, what are you going to take, you think? Probably one of those BSc classes. Go ahead.
I was gonna say lab.
You're going to take lab? Yeah. You're probably going to have to take biology 110, principles of biology. If you're a chemistry major or a biochemistry major, you're going to have some physics. Notice the physics are down there as well. Being in this major, you are going to satisfy your GEC requirement for laboratory science. It's going to happen. It's built in, baked in the cake, okay? There's a lot of good courses here, but you're going to take some physics, you're going to take some chemistry, and you're definitely going to take some biology if you're in biochemistry. So you're going to be more than okay in what we call GECO2. GECO3, this is the humanities requirement. We currently require 9 hours of GEC humanities. What does that degree plan tell you must take? What must you take? Got to take that, right? Says you got to take this, world literature, and it says select 2 courses, and then what else does it say? All right, so you're going to take 1 history class, and then you get to choose your second course from these. That's really what it means. So you can take world civilization from the beginnings to 1500 or 1500 to present. You take your pick, okay, whichever one you want.
Could we take both?
You can. You technically can take both if that's what interests you. If that's what interests you, you can certainly take both of them. No problem there. However, in looking at these remaining courses, you can choose from some humanities courses, Introduction to Philosophy, Ethics and Good Living, which is a philosophy course, or Religion 131. I took the Introduction to Philosophy course when I was in your boat. It is, to this day, the top course I ever took. Of all the courses, it was my most influential course. Can anybody tell me why that might be the case?
Well, I mean, considering what you're teaching right now, it helps to kind of have one of those philosophical-based courses.
Okay, I'll buy that. Anything else?
Maybe it helps with developing metacognition for all things.
Very good. What else?
By learning how other people used to think about things, you can learn how to think about the things around you.
Very good. I like all of those things. They're all true. Okay? In high school, how many of you had a philosophy course? That's about what I expected. Same for me. How many of you had a history course? Very good, yeah. Same for me. How many of you had to read some literature, something like English literature? Yeah. The philosophy area is something that you've never been exposed to. But I will tell you that the philosophy area is also the root of all knowledge. Philosophy, the old philosophers, is where we started thinking and developing the scientific method. It's where we first started to talk about what is logic and what is reason. You are in a very logic-oriented major. How you feel about chemistry is your personal reality. Chemistry is chemistry, whether how you feel about it or not, and it's a logically based science, right? And so having some understanding of logic, in my opinion, is very important. So if you're thinking about your second course, it's just Dr. Masterson's recommendation. It is not a requirement, but I would highly recommend that you think about Philosophy 151. The second choice that I would give for you all would be Philosophy 171, Ethics and Good Living. We need to be nice to each other. We need to be ethical. We need to have a good life. I would recommend that one as a second one as well. Okay? I think an exposure to philosophy is important. And it was certainly one of the best courses I ever took. I would highly recommend it. And so the introduction to philosophy would be what I would suggest. If it doesn't fit your schedule, that's fine. All of them are good courses. I am not suggesting they are not. GEC 04, Aesthetic Values. What can you tell me about that area? Pardon? None of those are required other than you got to pick one, right? So you can think of it as an elective. Why do we make you take an aesthetic value?
It's for art and performance appreciation.
Okay. What do you all know about this university? What's one of the things we brag on ourselves about?
The music program.
We do. We do brag about the music program. We brag, you may have heard word, accredited in all 4 areas of the arts. You may have heard that quite a bit during orientation or whatever. This is one of the reasons why we have you do this, okay? I had to take 2 aesthetic values classes when I was in college. I took music lecture and I took film. To this day, that film class is the reason why I made sure that my cable subscription included Turner Classic Movies. I had to watch classic movies, and I kind of fell in love with it. So to this day, at 53, because of what I did when I was 21 years old, I'm still going, we got to change packages, but it's got to have Turner Classic Movies because of this class. You will find an appreciation for the world in taking an aesthetic values class, I promise you. I personally know people in dance, music, theater, and art, and I can guarantee you will find good instructors in all of those. I do not have a particular preference for any of those to suggest to you. I think they're all great courses. A lot of people end up taking the Music 165. I will say that. GEC 05, Social and Behavioral Sciences. You are required to take 6 hours. You can select 2 courses from either of these. How many of you in here are pre-med? Which courses do you need to take? Do you really have an elective here? Talk to your advisor about it. Depends on which medical school you want to go to. But medical schools are wanting people to take sociology and psychology. So you can take any of them you want and graduate from the University of Southern Mississippi. But if you want to go to medical school and not have to take extra courses, talk to your advisor. Okay? So they are definitely suggesting the sociology and the psychology. Does that make sense for pre-med? Absolutely. Perfect sense. You should have that. Okay? So think about that. If you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, you might want to consider economics. Okay? If you're thinking about you want to be on the business side of things, you might want to consider economics. If you're more interested in the human experience, I would highly recommend one of the anthropology classes. Okay? And if you're a political junkie, I would highly recommend you take political science. Learn a little something about political science. okay? But if you're pre-professional, pre-med, pre-dental, talk to your advisor, make sure you're taking the right ones there. GEC 06 mathematics. Many of you may think that math teaches logic. And so why would I need to take a philosophy course? Math does not directly teach logic. You will have some logic, and especially if you take higher levels of math. But it is not an expected learning outcome in mathematics, right? We talk a lot about equal signs, but not necessarily why things are equal, okay? So, you all are going to be good though, right? What math courses are required in your major? Up through at least Cal 2. Right? We recommend for some, if you're thinking about going to graduate school, you might want to take Cal 3. Okay? But up through Cal 2. Okay? So you're going to have either placement in calculus, or you're going to start off in college algebra and then take trigonometry and then take your calculus sequence. You're going to be good on the math part. You're going to get the math requirement out of the way. GEC 07, 08, and 09. These are different requirements that most people don't think of as gen ed, and in fact we're getting ready to change the name of those to university requirements. But we require a writing intensive requirement within your major. Okay? For us, it's going to be your physical chemistry. Physical chemistry 1, you're going to complete your writing intensive. You're going to write a lot of lab reports. You're going to be taking that lab with my wife, Miss Tina Masterson. You will turn in lots of lab reports, and they will be graded on how well you write, just as much as on how well you got a result. Okay? Notice English 1 and 2 are prerequisites to that course. Okay? So you got to keep that in mind. Speaking intensive requirement. We allow a variety of courses. Why is the university saying you need to take a speaking intensive course?
Most people are going to have to present something, whether to a large group or a small group, at any point.
Yeah, notice what I'm doing right now in my job. I never had a speaking intensive course. I had to learn the hard way. The first time I came into a classroom, I was scared to death.
And if you actually become a highly accredited chemist, you're gonna want to be able to, convey your research to people.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of that happens in talks.
The way I was thinking is, if you do plan on going to graduate school, a lot of graduate schools require you to do interviews.
They do.
You need to be good at talking.
That's right. And if you go to graduate school, you have to defend either a thesis or a dissertation. You have to publicly get up and talk about your research. It's going to be very, very important for you. Okay? That's why we have you do this, to learn at least the basics of that. And then a capstone requirement. For us, it's research. You are going to do some type of research project for at least 3 hours worth of total work. You can do more. What does the capstone mean? What does the word capstone mean, literally?
The endpoint.
Close. I'll give you 3/4 credit for that. The capstone is the finishing stone on the top of a structure that ties it all together. Right? If you think about a pyramid, the capstone is the thing on the top that holds the whole pyramid together. Research does that for you. You are going to be in a research lab working on a problem that nobody else has worked on. And you're going to have to pull from your gen chem, your organic, your biochem, your pchem to solve some type of problem. It is a finishing project, and it happens, and you're going to have to give a speech about your project. Hence why we have you do speaking intensive. You're also going to have to write a report. Hence why we have you do writing intensive work. Okay? That is the GEC. Our GEC is currently 35 hours. How many hours are required for your major? Anybody know? 120. Okay, so roughly a quarter of your time is gen ed. Roughly. Now we get into the program curriculum, right? These are all the required courses that you have to finish with a chemistry degree. You have to take General Chemistry 1, General Chemistry 2. You're in this class right now. You got to take Organic 1, Organic 2. You got to take Junior Seminar. You got to take analytical chemistry, principles of inorganic chemistry. You got to take chemical literature, instrumental analysis, physical chemistry 1 and 2 and their labs. And you got to do research. That's what we call DEGO 1. And then we say, well, you get to select one of the following. Right? You can take Chemistry 420, Principles of Biochemistry, or you can take Chemistry 421, Biochemistry 1. Can you just take these classes any old way you want? No, they are prerequisited, right? What do I mean by that?
You have to take them.
You have to take them in a certain sequence, right? Okay. So if I wanted to just tomorrow to take my favorite class, which as I'm an organic chemist, it's actually Organic Chemistry 1, I could click on that in the bulletin and notice it pops up with a description. And the first thing that it tells me is the prerequisites for this are Chemistry 107, 107 lab, and a co-requisite of the laboratory, 255L. Right? That's what I got to do. Is that all the prerequisites though? I got to have 107, right? Well, what do I have to be in 107?
106.
106. Yes. So I got to do 106, then 107, then I can do 255. What happens if you, I don't know, this semester just decide, well, I'm going to drop 106 and I'm going to take it next semester? What does that do to your whole plan? It pushes it back. It has a ripple effect. Right? You may think it just adds a semester. And that's technically true. But it impacts the very end. Right? It's hard to catch back up. Right? If you wanted to graduate in the spring in 4 years, it would make it almost impossible. Right? And so a lot of our courses are prerequisited. I want you to go through the bulletin as you're doing your semester by semester guides. I want you to click on all of these and understand what is a prerequisite for it and what it is a prerequisite to. Does that make sense? Okay. Why do we have you starting off in general chemistry?
So we can get to know the different kinds of chemistry and maybe form an idea of what we want to specialize in.
Okay, fair enough. We want you to be able to get a dabbling of all the areas. Does anybody know what the 5 subdisciplines of chemistry are? There's organic, analytical, inorganic, physical. One of them is a subset of physicals, we'll count that there.
Yeah.
And biochemistry. So when we say the 5 subdisciplines of chemistry, we're talking about organic, analytical, inorganic, physical, and biochemistry. You are going to have, regardless of whether you're a chemistry major or a biochemistry major, you're going to have at least one class in all of those. Okay? That's what it means to be a chemist. You have at least an understanding. Okay? So we want you to start off in general chemistry, get kind of a flavor. There's a lot of math in general chemistry. There's a lot of stuff on stoichiometry. There's a lot of stuff on periodicity. You need the foundation to be in all of your other classes. 255 and 256, Organic 1 and Organic 2. My favorite courses. I am certainly biased as an organic chemist. But organic chemistry is the basis of modern society. That little atom called carbon can do more than any other atom on the periodic table. No joke. It is the basis for life. It is the basis for all of your modern materials. Well, all of them. A good chunk of them, right? And I always joke, because I got a good friend who's an inorganic chemist, the whole periodic table there is there just to create a place for carbon, right? That's my view, okay? Clearly you gotta have other elements too. But carbon is a very special atom. That's why we devote 2 whole courses to nothing but carbon. We don't do that for any other element on the periodic table. That is a requirement. It's that important. It's overrated? You think that's overrated?
It's a little bit
A
overrated.
little overrated?
I think the rest of the periodic table is kind of neglected.
You think it's neglected?
Yes.
Okay, well, fair enough. We can agree to disagree. Analytical chemistry. Why do we require you to take analytical chemistry? What does it mean what does analytical chemistry mean? Analysis. What other words come to mind?
Being able to break down stuff.
Break down things.
Descriptions.
Descriptions. What other words might come in with analytical? I worked as an analytical chemist for 2 years when I was in your shoes. I worked for an analytical company. We got samples, we analyzed them for pollutants. That's what I did. Made decent money at it. Paid my way through school. Companies would come in, we need to know how much heavy metal is in this water sample. We would analyze that. We would tell them there's so many milligrams per liter of whatever they were interested in. We were doing that. That's important to be able to do. It's important for all of the other disciplines. You will do some type of analytical chemistry even if you're going into medicine. You will give people injections, or you'll have the nurses give people injections that have so much of something per unit of volume. You've got to understand these types of concepts. You will get that there. Inorganic chemistry, you got to understand, yes you do have to understand some other things in the periodic table. You got to understand some of those metals. Even though our body doesn't require a lot of iron relative to carbon, iron's still important. Can't live without it, right? Can't live without copper, can't live without cobalt. Very important to understand the role that those other elements play in the importance of carbon. So, just a little jump there. Chemical literature, you're going to get into the actual primary literature. What do I mean by primary literature? Okay, most important. It's not a bad word or set of words. What's the difference between primary literature and your textbook?
I guess it would be firsthand.
Okay. When I publish a paper as a chemist, I publish it in the primary literature. I publish it in a journal where nobody else has published it before. You can pick up your textbook and you can go to the library and get a different textbook on chemistry and they will read almost identically. This one may be $20 and this one may be $200, but they cover the same topics, right? They're textbooks. Primary literature is where we put things that we haven't known before, right? And they're going to learn about that. The primary literature is where textbooks get their knowledge. You're going to take some physical chemistry, thermodynamics and kinetics. It's important to understand chemical stability. You'll learn about that in PChem. You will learn about kinetics. What does kinetics mean? What does it mean to be kinetic? Pardon? Motion. Speed. Right? Is it important to know how fast a chemical reaction occurs? Absolutely. You're going to learn when you get into biochemistry that every chemical reaction in your body occurs on a time scale such that we should not be alive. Except we have these little things called catalysts that make it go faster. And we can measure those kinetics. And we can, enzymes, exactly, right? That's important to understand the thermodynamics and the kinetics if you're going to understand life. Quantum chemistry, I heard somebody say quantum earlier. You're going to learn about the quantum, right? Quantum chemistry, quantum effects, quantum states, very important. It explains a lot of things in chemistry. Very, very important for you to have, okay? Now, selecting one of the following. If you are a chemistry major, not the biochemistry one, right? You've got a choice. You can take Principles of Biochemistry or you can take Biochemistry 1. If you are thinking about going on to graduate school as a chemistry major, not a biochemistry major, I highly recommend 420. Why do I highly recommend 420? I highly recommend 420 because you're going to get a little bit of every area of biochemistry. Okay? I wish I would have taken that class. I took something equivalent to this, except I took it at the graduate level, okay, when I was an undergraduate. I got a lot of a very narrow piece of biochemistry. I got really good at enzyme kinetics, Michaelis-Menten, all of that stuff. I did it. It's what I do in some of my research today. I did not get genetics. I did not get metabolism. All of those things I missed, okay? But if you're thinking about going on, I would do that. If you're thinking about going on and studying more biochemistry, definitely do Biochemistry 1. If you're a biochemistry major, you're going to have Biochem 1, 2, and 3. You're going to get in depth all three areas that I just mentioned. Okay? If you are thinking about going to medical school, you can take either. I highly recommend the 420. Again, because of the breadth. I think it will help you out better. Okay? You then get a choice of elective. You can select one of these courses. I have a lot of opinions about all of those. I will leave it to you. If you're thinking about maybe going into the pharmaceutical industry, I would highly recommend medicinal chemistry. If you're thinking about going to graduate school, I'd highly recommend spectral elucidation. If you are thinking about going to medical school, I'd highly recommend pharmacology or toxicology. The choice is yours. You'll still get to graduate. DEGO2 is where we have the additional requirements. Math 167, Math 168. So if you were placed directly into Math 167, you have satisfied your GEC requirement, and you've also satisfied one of your DEG requirements. Okay? And then you got to take Calculus 2. And then, of course, you got to take your physics. What's the difference between the 111, 112, and the 201, 202? 111, 112 is a sequence. 201, 202 is a sequence. What's the difference between those two sequences? Calculus. That's right. 111, 112 is trig-based. 201, 202 is calculus-based. If you're thinking about going to graduate school, I highly recommend the calculus-based courses. If you're thinking about going to medical school, take the 111, 112. Can you go to graduate school with 111, 112? Absolutely you can. Okay? But the extra rigor of the calculus that comes with the calculus-based physics, especially if you're thinking about, I might want to go to graduate school for chemical engineering, the calculus-based will help you out. All right, and then you got a bunch of electives, okay? And you got to select electives until your score, or until your number of total credit hours equals 120. Okay? How many in here have a minor? Anybody in here declare a minor? You declared a minor? Anybody in here a double major? Okay. You're going to have more hours than there are days in the year. Well, maybe not quite that. You're going to have a lot of hours. You're not going to be struggling for hours. But if you're just one major, no minors, then you're going to have to watch your hours very carefully because you got to have 120 to graduate. Any questions about any of that? Is it a little overwhelming?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. What do you need to do?
Write a plan.
You got to write a plan. You've got to come up with when should I take these classes, and not only that, but how does it fit your schedule? How many in here have a job? How many in here have family obligations? How many in here didn't get placed directly in one? Don't raise your hand for that. I mean, but you all have your own personal situation. And you've got to think about it. And if you go to our nice little semester by semester guide and you click on that, and you'll see, this will help you develop your own plan. You should definitely look at this, right? But what is it assuming your first semester here?
14.
It's assuming you're going to be taking 14 hours. It's assuming you're starting in Calculus 1. It's assuming you're starting in English 101, right? That's what it's assuming. That may not be the case for all of you. Some of you may have obligations this semester you only took 12 hours. There is nothing wrong with that. But that is not what we have described here. You need to describe your situation in your own way, okay? And so use this as a general guide to help you build your semester by semester guide, okay? How many people have looked at the template that I put in Canvas? Nobody's looked at that yet? All right. You have an assignment that is our personalized semester by semester guide, right? Notice there are a lot of instructions here. This assignment is as much about you being able to follow the directions as it is about getting your semester guide correct. Why do you think I'm so stringent on this?
Because it's important for you to understand what you, like, it's important to have a plan, because if you mess something up right now, it can mess something up 4 years from now.
Anything else? Yeah.
This is how we can truly see like what we're getting ourselves into.
Absolutely.
Like, not in a bad way, but
This is not a bad one.
but just.
This is not something you can do in 2 hours, though, okay? I just want you all to understand that, okay? But also following these to get full credit, you are in a major that is highly dependent on rules. There are rules that chemistry follows. They are called natural laws. You have to understand them. This is an exercise in that. Can you understand the rules and follow them, right? So that's part of it, okay? You've got to take care of your entire 4 years. Some of you may be in Lucky Day, some of you may be in honors, some of you may have a minor. You've got to account for all of those hours as well. You are going to download your personalized semester by semester guide here. Okay? Did everybody see that okay? Yeah, that's okay. You will notice I filled in some of it with fake stuff. Well, I'm not fake, but it's example stuff. Do not turn this back in with the stuff that I wrote in there. I've had that happen before. That's not good. That's bad. Okay? You got to have to leave in just a second, right? So on your note card for today, name, ID number. On the back, write a sentence or two about your initial impression on the semester by semester guide project.
Oh, like, what do we think about the semester by semester, guide?
Project, yeah. Developing. Are you worried about it? You think it's going to be a piece of cake? Is it scary? Whatever, your thoughts. One more minute. Okay. The other reason why I'm so strict on this is because, as far as I'm concerned, this is your first professional document that you're being asked to create. Something that matters beyond just turning it in. I want you to build habits of becoming a professional. Professionals do not turn in sloppy work. What happens when a professional turns in sloppy work that's correct? Likely they still get fired. It just happens. People don't like to read sloppy work. Okay? So, you'll notice how this is built out. It's got a header. Chemistry 108, personalized semester by semester plan. It's got general information. It's got breaks. Do not alter any of this. Do not go over the page. There are page requirements in real life. I had to write a proposal to get money for a project. They said 15 pages. You go over, they reject it. If you're too far under, they go not enough. All right? This is how the world works, right? So this is general information. You're going to give me your name, the degree plan, if you have a minor. Notice If it's absent, if you don't have one, you still write something. None, not applicable, something like that. Dual enrollment credits. Did you take any dual enrollment? Yes, no. Right, I didn't. Right, if you took dual enrollment credits, listed here. Right, or AP credits, excuse me, dual enrollments here. You're going to give me your ID. You're going to tell me whether or not you're in the honors college. You're going to tell me whether or not you're in a fraternity or sorority. Did you have any high school AP credits? Who's your advisor? How many in here know the name of your advisor? Good. It's not Dr. Alan A. Tomic. Okay? So don't turn it in with that. You're then going to list your stuff here, and then you're going to write a paragraph that doesn't go over into the next page about your career plans and the relation to chemistry and biochemistry. What is it that you want to get out? What is your why? Why are you in this major? And I made some stuff up. I didn't tell you why I was interested in it. You'll learn about that later throughout the semester, right? But this is kind of what I'm looking for. Notice what this is not. What is it not? It is not a single sentence. It is written in the first person. I want it to be written. I want to know about you here. Okay? This is your opportunity to tell me why. Okay? What you plan to do and why do you think that this major will help you? Notice that is one page. Yes, ma'am.
If we haven't declared a minor yet, but like we plan to, do you want us to put that on there?
If you have not declared a minor, I would put in for no or none, and then maybe in parentheses in that space, just write planning to or something like that. That would work. Okay? Notice that's what, yes?
What do we do for the double major?
For the double major, I am only concerned with the chemistry major, but you'll still need to list your courses because you got to have all of it there for your degree plan. So I would say in your career plans I would also maybe add a sentence at the bottom that you're also a double major, and that'll probably be fine. We don't have too many of you double majors. It's good though. Any other questions before we move on? All right. You'll then move into the current semester. If you are a transfer student, your first page will be whatever year you took those courses at the community college or the other university or whatever. You will have to adapt this. If you have questions about it, reach out to me. But I'm assuming that you are starting as a freshman, okay? So, fall 2025, that's the current semester. You're going to give me the prefix of the courses you're going to take, the course number, the course title. Okay, now some titles can get long. It's okay to abbreviate as needed, but don't abbreviate if it actually fits, okay? You're going to tell me how many credit hours each course is, and you're going to tell me what the course is a prerequisite to. Math 101 college algebra for 3 credit hours is a prerequisite to Math 103. Okay? Not the other way around. Do not tell me what the course or what courses are prerequisite to this. Don't do it the opposite. I've had people do that. They'll say, Math 101, college algebra, 3 credit hours, Math 099. No. What is this a prerequisite to? Okay? You'll do that for every course. Okay? You'll then tell me why you're taking these courses in this semester. Okay? And then you'll tell me about your plans for time management during that semester. I want you to think about your time management and those courses. Notice that's 15 hours. What is full time? 15 hours is full time for scholarships, but 12 hours for federal aid is actually full time. Why would 12 hours be full time? Does anybody know what a credit hour really means?
How many times or how long you spend in the class per week.
And, that's true. And how much outside expectations the class has. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every hour that you're in class, on average, we expect you to spend 2 hours of outside work. Well, if you're in class 12 hours a week, how many hours is that outside of work? That's 24, right? 24 and 12 is, which is pretty close to a full-time job. That's why 12 hours is considered full-time. So you need to think about that. You may think, man, I was in high school, I was there from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 days a week, and now I'm only gonna go to class 15 times a week. Yeah, but you gotta do all this other stuff on outside on your own that you didn't have. I mean, we didn't expect that in high school, right? So it's different. So you're talking about your time management this semester, okay? You will check it for spelling. I do not care if you use AI to check it for spelling, Grammarly, whatever. I want this to look professional. Do not use cutesy fonts. Do not use colors. This is a professional document. You will submit this document to me. I will grade it. I will submit it back to you. You will earn up to 80 points. You will make any corrections that I ask you to make, and then you will submit it to your advisor. Yes?
The full-time job thing actually makes more sense, because if you consider the 2 extra hours outside for every hour in class, that's 30 hours outside, 15 hours in class, that's 45 hours a week.
That's what it should take you to get through college. That's a full-time job, right? That is a full-time job. You will notice, you will do this for spring. I have not filled anything out. Yes, ma'am.
Can you say why these courses, this is why you taking them or why you have to take them?
Why are you taking them in that semester? Okay? I know that these courses are going to be required, but if you also take, let's say you took the Philosophy 151, mention why you took it. Why did you take it? Right, that's okay. Because you can take courses in a variety of different ways. So how you're planning out your plan, right? That's important. You got to self-reflect on that. You'll do spring 2026. You'll do the same kind of stuff, right? You'll then have summer 2026. Notice I've got something else up here. Are you required to take summer classes? No.
How are you supposed to predict your time management if it's way in advance?
Because you've got to think about that now so that you, when you get that job or that other commitment that you're thinking about that well in advance. I want you to think about your whole 4 years here, right now. That doesn't mean that it won't change. It will change. But if you have that in hand and then all of a sudden somebody offers you an opportunity or offers you the ability to go on this or that or the other, you've already thought about, you know, if I do that in that semester, that's a pretty full semester. Maybe I shouldn't say yes to that. Or, no, I really want to do that. I really do want to do that. Now I need to go back and maybe talk to my advisor about changing my schedule. But I want you to think about it in advance. 4 years will be gone before you know it. If you are not taking summer courses, I want you to write, not applicable, down in this area. Okay, so don't leave it blank. So we've just gone through year 1, right? And now what are we going to do? We're going to do year 2. You're going to do fall 26. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to do spring 27, summer 27. Notice I've got a page for every one. I have given you enough pages for a 4-year degree plan. What if your plan is such that it's going to take you 5 years? What do you do? I took 5 years, just to let you know, nothing wrong with it. You're going to add a fall, a spring, you're going to have to do that on your own. Cut and paste, right? And make that right.
I'm sorry, you said for the summer classes, just leave it blank?
No, if you're not taking it right, not applicable.
Okay.
Some of you will take summer courses. We always have some that go, you know, if I take that summer course, I actually get to graduate a year or a semester earlier.
I thought about that too.
You thought about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfectly fine. It's your choice, right?
So what if we don't know if we're taking summer courses, like at this?
If you don't know, I would at this point assume no.
Okay.
This is a living document. You will submit this to your advisor. You will keep this document and you will change it over time. All of a sudden you've decided, hey, I want to take summer courses. You're going to go into that summer semester, you're going to write down whatever course it is that you're going to take, and then you're going to go, wait a second, how does that affect the rest of my time here? Does it speed it up? Probably. But where's it going to speed it up? Is it going to speed it up the next semester? You're going to have to think about that. So I want you to have a complete understanding of your 4-year degree before you get too far. One of the things that I see, and I know we're getting short on time, one of the things that I have seen during my time in higher education is students who end up getting to their junior year, they've completed all their gen eds, right? They've completed all their gen eds, and then they realize, oh my gosh, I'm behind in the major. It's gonna take me a 5th year, because they didn't think about it up front. They thought, oh, I'll just take that organic later. Well, that set that back, but then that also set these other classes back. And oh yeah, by the way, we only teach that course once a year, which means you're gonna miss it, which means you gotta wait another cycle. Right? So that's why a decision now can have a long stream down effect that can actually be. We only offer Biochem 2 and Biochem 3 once a year. You get out of sequence, that has an effect. We only offer PChem 1 once a year. You get out of sequence, that has an effect. Okay? So that's why I want you thinking about the whole thing now, because decisions that you make today will impact you down the line. Any questions about that? That's due next week. What else is coming due?
Notebook reflection.
Notebook reflection will be due on Friday. What else is coming due?
Activities assignment.
Activities assignment 1. I've seen some of you turn it in. I've not heard from anybody on any other activities. If there's other activities that you're thinking about, let me know. But that is due September the 19th. That's coming up. That's just 16 days away. So you've got a little over 2 weeks to get that first activity done. Okay? Any questions? All right. It was good seeing everybody. Turn in your note card on the way up. I will see you all next week.